Hey everybody, my name is Jen and this is Jen Geigley Knits, and I have a new sweater that we need to talk about. And it's a whole journey, and this might be like a 4-part series over a span of time, but buckle up, jump in the passenger seat because you're about to join me on this journey of being a knitwear designer and all the things that come along with it. So let's go. First of all, there is nothing wrong with this sweater. It is absolutely amazing. This color is my personal dream color for everything in life, but especially a sweater. It's the perfect chartreusey yellow green. It is gorgeous in real life and on camera. This color is amazing. This yarn is Aimee Corrie worsted in the color Kokko, and I contacted Aimee last October, I believe, and just asked them, can I make my dream chartreuse sweater in Kokko? Will you let me? I sent them a proposal. I'll show you what it looked like right here. And they said, yes, go for it, do it. They sent me this beautiful yarn and I was so excited to just go. And the whole time knitting this sweater, all I thought about was the color. Like how much I love this color, how amazing this sweater is gonna look, how I'm gonna love it so much. It's just like the most exciting, perfect color in this amazing yarn, just excitement, right? And so this is, let's just look at it. It is a drop shoulder sweater with 6 inches of positive ease. So it's boxy, just like a perfect sweatshirt, a throw on and go classic basic sweater. Like this is what I would wear all the time, probably, for real. Like a go-to, it fits so nicely, I have to say. So there's a 6-inch positive ease built into each size, because I've written the pattern. Drop shoulder construction, seaming the sleeves with a mattress stitch, a 3-needle beautiful bind off on the shoulders that looks so nice, like a little braid. It has a fold over sewn in collar. I made my sleeves a little long so I can have like a cozy long sleeve, or fold it up to this length for, you know, when I want to use my hands. And I absolutely love the fit, the comfort, the ease. You just throw it on and go. It's an everyday perfect classic sweater. The problem is I have seen very, very similar everyday classic perfect sweaters popping up all over Instagram by really big designers. And as I was realizing this very slowly, it was when I was seaming. Like the past 2 nights I did the shoulder seams one night, and then last night I added my sleeves and was weaving in the ends. And it started to like wash over me that I have seen extremely similar sweaters popping up on Instagram, like at least 3 or 4 of them in the past week. And this happens all the time. It is no one's fault. No one is copying anyone. I am not copying anyone. I'll tell you my whole original story, and this is like from October. It doesn't even matter. And there has been a huge resurgence in classic, plain, very simple designs. Think petite knit. Think all those big Scandinavian knitters and designers that are putting out basic cardigans, basic pullovers, basic turtlenecks. The turtleneck is the one that I keep seeing pop up. It is just like this, but it's a turtleneck. So, it's totally fine because you can pick your exact perfect one of those and knit it. And there's several to choose from, which is really nice, honestly. And it is so good to have a basic piece in your wardrobe that you're gonna wear a ton. And that was my thinking with this sweater. And I would wear this a ton. However, I have just been like ruminating on this sweater for the past few nights and days, and thinking, how could I level this up? How could I change it now that it's completely knitted and finished? Like, what could I do, if anything? So I kind of feel like any of my knitwear designs, as you go through it, there's always like a turning point or a crossroads or some kind of time when you're working on it that you're like, okay, this is either make it or break it, make it work. It's totally Project Runway because it happens all the time. So I do kind of bust out my tiny little Tim Gunn voice in my head and like, what would he say? What would he ask me if he was coming in and saying designers, and asking all the questions? Would he say, Jen, this is too safe. This is a basic. It's been done many a time. What else could you do with it? Would you like to level it up? And I would. The answer is yes, I would like to level this up. So what I'm contemplating doing, and I just wanted to record this while the sweater is still in this state because it's really cute. I do love it so very much. It's perfect. I can put this out tomorrow. It's been sent to the tech editors. We're working on all the details and stuff, but it's like ready to go. It is knitted. It's, being finalized. I'm gonna lay it out on my computer. All that stuff is good. I can leave it. No one would be sad or mad about that. Like, you're probably all like, that's a great sweater, Jen. But I do have some ideas of how I could change this and make it very unique and different while still keeping like this sweater intact. But I have some ideas of what I could add on to it. And it's going to be very trial and error, and I do not know what's going to happen. And maybe I'll have to come back to this. So I don't want to do any irreversible damage because I don't want to reknit this whole thing. So this is my plight, but I just wanted to record this today and get this documented in case I totally do something crazy tonight or over the weekend. It's very possible. So the plan that I came up with Aimee is that this would be a pattern that's released during Vogue Knitting Live or maybe right before, and then maybe they would show it on the runway in New York and whatever else, and that would be just like our time frame. So that's kind of the rough plan, and that is still definitely on schedule to happen. So that's happening. But will it be this plain pattern, or will it be a new embellished, totally different, weird, cool pattern? And that's the question. So what I'm thinking right now, and this may change, but why don't I release this as a plain pattern as is? I should probably go get somehow some pictures taken really, really fast before I do anything drastic. Oh my gosh, I really don't know what to do. Or just take some pictures today really fast in my house of myself, like selfies. I might do that and then do my extreme makeover plan that I'm thinking about doing. But I don't know. So as I was contemplating changing this sweater after the fact, even though it's completely finished, the first idea I had, the first word that popped into my mind was Björk. And I have been obsessed with Björk since the 90s. I was in high school when her big hits came out. I've had every album ever since. When I turned 40, I bought myself concert tickets for a 3-day festival in LA because she was going to be there, and it's very rare to get an opportunity to see Björk play live. So I went to this 3-day, 4-day long festival in LA by myself, and I saw Nine Inch Nails, Missy Elliott, Iggy Pop, Erykah Badu, who else? So many incredible bands, and the highlight was Björk for me. So, okay, I'm obsessed. I have t-shirts, I have bags, I have all of her albums. I don't know. I've loved her since the 90s. Like I said, I've studied her fashion, and I have like a folder of her outfits and stuff like this. And so there's a sweater that she wore in the 90s that I honestly can't even find a picture of right now, and I'll have to search it out. But my mind, luckily, is like Google Images. I don't forget certain things like that I have a high interest in. And so like I can pull up this picture in my mind and I know she wore this sweater in the 90s. And Kay Gardner has seen it too from Modern Daily Knitting, because we talked about it a long time ago. And like I have like a file folder of weird knitwear, like high fashion things, the stuff that's like weird ideas to try maybe someday or whatever, just, you know, if you ever need it, it's there. Anyway, it's in that category of like weirdness. So I'm going to kind of describe what I'm thinking and we'll see if it comes to life or not. If it's a total fail, it might be a total fail. If everything fails, I'm going to do the classic sweater because I do love this so much. There's nothing wrong with this sweater, honestly. The fit, the construction, the look, I love everything about it, so I don't care. If it all goes wrong, I'll just come back to this, even if I have to reknit it. I mean, I hope I don't have to, but okay, the Björk thing. Björk has a sweater that she wore in the 90s that looks like it has flaps. 3D pieces that are staggered all over the sweater. Hers is very cropped. It looks like it's gray and it almost looks like it could be felted. So if this works, if my idea works, I am gonna knit a cropped gray version out of Lopi because it's very Björk, like Icelandic. I mean, it would make sense that I would also have a cropped gray one just like hers. Anyway, it's these 3D flaps that are attached somehow all over the sweater, front and back and sleeves, to make these 3-dimensional little pieces. And this is the first thing that came to mind when I was like, how can I make this sweater cooler without taking it apart or ripping back anything? Because I'm not, I can't, it would break my heart to do anything to it. So I am gonna try picking up stitches and knitting these flaps. I'm also gonna try knitting the flaps separately and then attaching them somehow. I am not sure what my method is gonna be because Björk's sweater, in my mind, the picture that I remember, it looks almost felted. It really does. It looks shrunken and felted where like those things might not matter so much because it would all melt together through the felting. And so this, I want it to look really nice. And I also want it to be easy to add these on. So I'm going to experiment and see if this is a total wackadoo idea or if it's like the best idea ever and turns out amazing. So that's what I'm going to do now. So it's been a couple of days since I recorded about the sweater decision-making process. And in the past couple of days, we've had almost a foot of snow. And tomorrow, we are getting another like 5 to 10 inches. They don't even know. We're getting buried in snow, but it's fun. It is beautiful, but it is also a pain once you start having to like get around, get groceries, get your kids where they need to be. Luckily, we have the day off school tomorrow for a teacher work day. So we're just planning already on a home day, a snow day. Bo's gonna work from home. I'm gonna be here, obviously, knitting because what better weather than a snowstorm to like figure this out. And last night I had a Knitting 101 class. I've been teaching Knitting 101 to beginner knitters since maybe 2008. And so it's like my favorite thing to do. So we had a little snowy knitting class last night. And it's just fun to send knitters off onto their knitting journey. And I'm like, this is the best because during the snowstorm, you're gonna be able to work on your knitting. And it was all like, you know, such knitting vibes, this weather. But yeah, anyway, it's my yard and my trees and everything is just magically coated in a big like frosting of snow. Everything is so beautiful. And it's funny because it's been like that for a few days and it's sticking to the branches. It's really just like every branch, every pine tree, everything is just white. So I ran outside thinking I need to take pictures in this sweater before I do anything else to it, and I'll show you what I've been working on. It's hard to do something different to this perfect chartreuse sweater, but I really, really want to try this at least. So I might start doing this today. Let me just show you. I have made a good little pile of the rectangles, and I found the picture of the Björk sweater that I was talking about. So let me just put it here so you can see where I'm going with this. So the past few days, I have been knitting these double knit rectangles. And after some trial and error, I decided how I wanted to make, these flaps to be similar to the Björk sweater, even though I really think the Björk sweater, the original, is more of, it's almost, I think it's felted or a lopey, like a chunky, chewy knit. You know what I mean? Or maybe they knitted it too big and shrunk it and felted it, but I'm gonna mimic that without doing that. And the best way when I started swatching to make the swatch or the little rectangles is double knitting, which is actually very simple. And I'm gonna make a little video showing how to do this in case this all comes together and works out beautifully. These are fun. Double knitting makes a perfect, identical, you know, like both sides look the same. The sides look perfect. The edges look really nice and clean. And so you have like a clean edge to sew to the sweater and a clean flap for the flappy part that's gonna show. And it matches, you know, your gauge really well. And I think it blends in nicely. So I think in a minute, I'm gonna just try to sew a few of these on and see how we're doing. Like literally like this. And I left long ends on everything so I can have something to work with my seaming. I mean, you see what I'm doing here, but like, I'm gonna lay them out. I don't even know, I've just been knitting the rectangles without even counting how many I actually need. But I think I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and like almost a half done. And they take a while, surprisingly, because it's double knitting. So you are making, this is, okay, let's say normally in stockinette, this would be about 20 stitches wide at this gauge on these needles. So with double knitting, you have to cast on 40. You have to do double because it looks like 40 when you cast on. And then as you start doing the double knitting, it goes down to this size. And so that's how you're making both sides at once. The inside is hollow. That's another beautiful thing. These are very light, but also it is double thick. It is hollow in the inside. It is very magical once you're doing it. And it's so, so easy, especially in a solid color. So if you want, I'll show you how I'm doing that. You wanna see how I'm doing that? And then I'm gonna sew them on and see kind of how it's starting to look. I don't have enough to do the whole thing because I want these on the sleeves like Björk's sweater. I have to lay them out and see how many I want on each sleeve. This might be close to enough for the front, and then I want to do the back too. So let's just do this. So let me just show you, I'm going to cast on a new rectangle and just show you how it works in case you're curious, because it's kind of interesting. Double knitting is really fun and easy, especially in a single color. And so I'm gonna show you how I'm making these rectangles for my sweater. So for these rectangles, I'm casting on 40 stitches, but it makes a rectangle that is only 20 stitches wide because you're making stitches on each side. So you need to cast on double the amount of stitches that you actually want because it comes out half as wide. So it's really simple to get started. I've just cast on 20 stitches just for demonstration purposes to show you, and then I usually keep a longer tail because I'm going to use that to seam these on. And then I tie that in a bow just to make it so I don't grab it all the time and keep it out of the way a little bit. And then you just knit a stitch, bring your yarn to the front, slip the next stitch purlwise, knit, slip purlwise, knit, slip one stitch purlwise, and that's all there is to it if you're doing single color. The purlwise slip stitches are creating the stitches on the other side, which is totally magical and almost too good to be true because it's so simple. So this stitch this cast on looks like it's 20 stitches wide right now, but as I keep knitting, it's gonna shrink down to 10. It's really weird how that happens, but it will start to create the two sides of the knitting, and then it just kind of forms after a few rows and you'll see it happening. My last stitch, since I have an even number of stitches, is a slip stitch, and that's what you want. Usually it makes it easier and makes the ends look nice. And then I know that my first stitch on this side is a knit stitch. And then every one of these that has a purl bump, those are my purl slips. So I'm gonna slip purlwise, just do the same thing again. And yeah, again, this looks like a normal width right now, but it will shrink down to half of this. Last stitch is a slip stitch, and that is creating the double knitting. I'll do a few more rows to show you how it looks. So normally I would knit a bit further like the rectangles on this, but you get the idea right here. You can see how it's identical on both sides. It looks really nice and it lays really flat. There's no curling when you do this, which is really nice. And the edges are really clean and nice. So I'm just gonna show you how I bind off because it is a bit different than normal. And so when you're working the last row before your bind off, you are not gonna slip the last stitch purlwise like we would normally. We're just going to knit it, and that will help with the last stitch of the bind off that we'll do in a second. And then we're not going to knit our bind off starting with this side. We're gonna actually slip it over to the other side of our needles so that the working yarn is behind us, connected to the ball over here, because we're seriously just going to slip these stitches to bind off. It's really fast and easy. But if we did the normal bind off, it would flare out and get really big. And so this keeps it to this size. So I'm just gonna look at my stitches, and the first one is a knit. So I'm gonna slip it knitwise. The next one is a slip purlwise. So I'm gonna slip it purlwise and then just lift the first stitch over the second. And then I'm gonna pick up my next one, which is a knit stitch. So I'm gonna slip it knitwise and just keep going to bind off. So the next one is a purlwise, slip it over. And you would think this might end up really tight, but it is stretchy and it works really well and it matches the cast on edge. So I'm just gonna keep going across the row. And then the last stitch, just like normal, I stretch it out a bit, and then I would clip this tail and thread it through. There's my baby little double knitting swatch. Really fun. So I'm just kind of laying this out on my couch right now, and I don't know how the actual sweater looks on the front. So my Björk reference photo, I cannot see how it starts on the front or where the first flaps are. It's mostly you can see the sleeves and kind of everything is flipped up a little bit, and hers is very cropped. So I kind of think I want mine angled like this to start with the first row. I'm not sure how far down I want to go. And then maybe 3 rows of those on the front. I'm not quite sure yet. And then I'm going to use my stitch markers to kind of attach them so they stay in place when I seam them on. Okay, this is kind of what I'm going for, I think. 3 rows, I don't have them all done yet, but scattered around kind of like this. I don't think they have to be totally perfectly placed because the Björk sweater in the picture I'm looking at, they look kind of random. And so I'm just gonna try to get them where they look right. And I think it's gonna be okay. And when you wear it, I think it's gonna look even better. And so I think, on the bottom row, I could even just do 2 maybe, or maybe I want 3 again. And then I thought, maybe I could also just do like 3, 2, 3. No, I like it the other way better. Anyway, it's gonna be an experiment. I know this looks kind of weird, but just trust me, we're going with it. I just feel adventurous, like this needs to happen and this is my chance to make it happen, and so I'm going to make it happen. Okay, I have attached my 3 flaps with stitch markers. I'm going to attempt to sew these on, and I'm gonna do it carefully, so if I need to take it out or redo it, I can. I'm not gonna like really secure it down until I'm totally sure this is gonna work. So wish me luck, let's do this. I think I'm ready to start sewing, and I'm going to use the tails that I've left on the rectangles to seam it. Hopefully that's enough. But before I start, I'm going to take my handy dandy Modern Daily Knitting Field Guide and slide it inside the sweater so I don't accidentally sew these to the back, which I've done before when I've been sewing pockets. This is kind of similar. So I'm just going to give it a shot and see how this goes. So I'm purposely not making this too fussy. As you saw, I just pretty much took my tail, went straight down, came up on one side of a V and caught the edge of this, and just kept doing that pretty much every stitch all the way across. And then I will fasten it off securely inside the sweater. And then these tails, I'm just gonna stick it right inside because these are kind of a hollow rectangle. And so I think I can just kind of push it through here. There's already a knot at the end to keep it secure. I'm just gonna stick it inside and trim. I don't think this looks half bad for modifying this after the fact. And I did attempt to pick up stitches with double pointed needles, and then I was going to knit these on, but that was so much more fuss and fiddling, and I had to keep turning and turning and turning. I felt like I was stretching out the sweater and stretching out the stitches, that I just feel like sewing these on is best. And we'll see as I go, but I think this will do the job. And I think if I just press this a little bit, maybe with a steam iron, it'll kind of smooth together, but I don't hate this and I just want to keep going, so I'm going to do a few more. So after I sewed these on, I realized there's a better way to do this, to not make this show. And it's the way I sewed my pockets onto my main squeeze cardigan. I'm gonna try it on this, and I don't know if it's gonna work, but I think it's gonna look better than this. I want this to disappear and just have stockinette showing. And I think I know how, so I'm gonna undo this and start over. I knew this would be trial and error, and yeah, it is. Okay, I think I have a new method to my madness, and I'm going to attempt to connect legs to legs, legs to legs, legs to legs, 2 legs of each V, and see if I can kind of make a duplicate stitch situation that turns this under and makes it blend in more. So let's see if it works. So I'm gonna grab these 2 legs. I grabbed 2 legs from above, and let's see if I can get this to make sense. 2 legs here, 2 legs here. So that was kind of my practice run, and I see I kind of messed up on this corner, but this looks good to me. Once I cinched this end a little bit, this meets up really nicely and hides this weird ridge. And so I think I'm just gonna redo this, but I think I just grabbed a row too high over here and started kind of weirdly. And then once I got the hang of it, I think it looks really good. And I'm gonna do this over and start again. And I think this is what I'm gonna do. Okay, third time's a charm, right? And maybe I should start on one of these. I don't know. Anyway, I'm gonna use a fresh piece of yarn because I kept using the piece that was attached to this, and then it was starting to get a little bit like fuzzy. And also I realized that on that last seaming I did, if I had just had a fresh piece of yarn, I could have gone back on that tail and fixed those 2 stitches that were up a row. So this time I'm gonna leave myself that option and just use a fresh piece of yarn. So I somehow did it again. It's slanting up. Oh my gosh, I need a better way to mark what row I'm on because I swore I was on the same. And I started up here. Maybe I can just undo these and bring it down. But why does that keep happening to me? Seriously, it's because I know I have to go pick up my kids in like 15 minutes, and so I'm just hurrying along. This is so close, but so not straight. Like it's going up. The cool thing about undoing this stitch is you just pull this out. And luckily this is still holding up. This yarn is amazing because I have put it through a lot today and put it to the test, and it is still somehow holding on and not stretching out. That is the beauty of wool. Okay, I'm gonna try this again. Seriously, I think I should put in a running, that's what I should do, is mark this with a piece of yarn because I can't keep it straight for some reason. I think it's every time I hold it up like this, I was getting off. This usually is not a problem for me, so I'm just like, what is going on today? But let me try again. Okay, I have a nice smooth piece of Purl Soho linen that I'm going to thread through the row above where I'm going so I can just keep track of where I am, because wow, I am struggling today. Okay, I've got a guideline in there. That's much better. And it also helps me line up these 2 pieces, which I didn't really have lined up before perfectly. So yeah, it just is better sometimes to take the time, do the extra steps, and make it right. Okay, let's try this again. Okay, that looks pretty good once I take out that little extra linen strand. So if I pull on these ends, it'll cinch up. I mean, it doesn't look that bad right now, but I think I do want to tighten this up and make it really secure. And then it really lines up nicely. Look at that. That is the dream. Okay, it was worth doing it 4 times or whatever to get that. I am totally happy with this. Okay, so maybe it took a whole afternoon, maybe it took 4 or 5 or however many tries that was, but I am so happy with this. It looks really good. That looks good. I'm not gonna mess around and do this all messy and sloppy, I'm not. So I just have to kind of get the tension right there, but that is a good join. And that is the path I'm taking. I am Björking my sweater, and now I just have to knit the rest of the rectangles, figure out my placement, see how many I need. I have to figure out how many on the sleeves that I want, because she had quite a few on her sleeve. But I'm super happy now with the direction this is going, and I'm so happy that this seaming works so nicely and looks so good, and like the gauge matches, the little V's match up. This is the dream, and now I can stop worrying a little bit and just do it, because now I'm excited. Unfortunately, I am out of time this week, and I have promised myself in the new year that I'm gonna upload a video every Saturday. So now you are officially on this sweater journey with me. So thanks for being here. So you'll have to check back next Saturday, and hopefully I have an update then. There's no way I can finish this week. Tomorrow is Friday, and we are for sure having a snow day. I just looked at the forecast again. We are preparing for another big snowstorm on top of the snowstorm we just had a couple of days ago. And so that means tomorrow my kids will be home, my husband will be home working, I will be home working, and that means chaos, because the kids get all amped up on a snow day, which I don't blame them. It's really fun, and we'll be in and out with snow pants and snowmen and snowboarding and all of our activities, which is lots of fun. So I will probably not be able to make any more videos about this week, but I'm sure I'll work on this tomorrow at some point, because a snowstorm is the perfect time to knit. And I have to make all the rest of the rectangles still. I have a lot more to make, and I don't want to sew too many of them down before I know the exact placement, and I really need to see more of them laid out to see how many I need and where they're gonna go. So I'm gonna stop seaming, I think, but I do feel good about my new seaming plan, picking up the V's, connecting them to the V's, going back and forth, and then when I pull it, it really does seem to even out in a nice way. I'm happy with how that looks, but feel free to give me any suggestions, advice, or tips on that kind of stuff. I obviously can't go in and, knit them as I'm knitting the sweater, because that ship has sailed and that's not happening. This has to be the way I'm doing it now, attaching them after the fact. I'm really excited about the double knitting and how that looks, so I really want to keep this method, and my seaming method, I'm happy with that too. But I'm still open to any suggestions you have, because knitters are a wealth of information. When we combine forces, it is kind of amazing what comes out of us, and I love reading anything you might have to offer, because this is a weird project. Anyway, thank you for watching. Thanks for hanging out with me while I figured this out. And I hope you'll come back next Saturday, because I am uploading a video every Saturday at some point during the day. Hopefully we have internet and everything and power because of the snowstorm. But I'm hopeful that everything will turn out great. But yeah, if it's your first time here, welcome. Welcome to the, experiment, and thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. I love reading your comments. Thanks for hanging out here, and I will see you in the next one. Have a good weekend. Bye.